selling an iPod photo on eBay right now, huh? Yeah, wistful. Well, it's been a tough couple of years, apparently.
We're live.
We are live.
Hello, Podfeet.
Hello, how are you? Nice shirt, Steve.
Yeah, it seems that there's a little modification on the shirts tonight.
Yep.
Is there any particular reason?
Today is the 17-year anniversary of the podcast, so this is big time today. We're going to talk about it a lot, but Alan has told us that it is time for roll call, and we must obey when Alan tells us it's time for roll call. We've got Alan and Brett, who hasn't been around in a while, and Bill, my buddy Bill, and Jason showing us pretty pictures, Frank from Japan, and Mike and Jill and John and Rick and Sandy and Steve and Michael from Japan, and Wheels bringing up the rear. And we have no Kevin today, so I can do whatever I want to Steve.
No, Rick's got control.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I can do whatever I want.
No, it's not. It's 15 to the second power, 15 squared. It's +2.
So for anybody listening and not watching, we are wearing our NosillaCast, or our Podfeet
15-year
15-year anniversary shirts.
Yeah.
But Steve has nicely put Post-it notes on our shirts that say +2. I made him little iron-ons because that's what he said he wanted. And then after I gave them to him, and he said, well, I don't want to iron on the +2. I was wondering what you would do for the next time. And Rose. Oh, that's right, Rose. You always switch over to the sidebar, and I miss you. Rose is here. It's a party. It's a big party.
Sure is.
All right. We have done the test. We've done roll call. And I think there's nothing to do but start. My voice has started disappearing every single evening at a certain time, so I'm chasing that. I don't know what makes it disappear. It's crackly at best right now, but it gets even worse. So I think I should start. I have to talk really fast so that it doesn't because otherwise I get vocal fry, and I know Alan really likes. He really likes to hear vocal fry. That's his favorite thing, right?
Yes.
Soon to be a morning podcast, yeah. Oh, I like that, John. About Rose, he says, I don't care if she's at the sidebar, the front bar, the back bar, as long as she is at the bar. All right. I'm going to mute Steve and get started. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, May 15th, 2022, and this is show number 888. This is also the 17th anniversary of the NosillaCast. And I think the craziest thing about that statement is, I was thinking about it. My daughter Lindsay is 34 years old, which means I've actually been doing this show for half of her lifetime, more than half of Kyle's lifetime. How nuts is that? Well, anyway, every year on the anniversary of the show, I thank listener Neil because he was the very first person to ever write to me about the podcast. He wrote in when I had pod faded after 4 shows. But this year, I want to thank someone else for their encouragement. 17 years ago, episodes 2, 3, and 4 were all about what I was learning at the Wall Street Journal's All Things Digital conference. On the very first day of that conference, I met David Roth, and he and I have been close friends ever since. I recorded episode 2 the very night that he and I met, so he may actually be the longest listening NosillaCastaway of all. Since that day, he has continued to support my work here by being snarky, making fun of me, and complaining when I make the listeners do math during the show. I will never forget how annoyed he was when I showed my work on calculating whether a portable battery could charge a laptop. Whether you've been listening for a decade and a half or whether you just joined us, I want you to know that I love doing this show because of the community of friends I've met along the way. Thank you very much for listening. There we go. NosillaCast. And see, yep. Save. All right. Oh, no. Just for Kevin. Okay, here's chapter marks. All right. I drag down a little extra there at the end. So we'll start there, and we'll push a grumpy button. So I don't know what was going on, Mike, but you weren't here for a couple of weeks, and it didn't work, and then it started working again.
Maybe because Mike returned.
Yeah, maybe.
Could be.
All right. So first I've got to find...
Brett will be a 10-year listener in January. Congratulations,
Wow.
Brett. Thank you for your
Maybe
support.
we should have 10-year pins.
Yeah.
5-year pins, 1-year pins. Obviously, Mike has to be here every week. Yeah, Mike, I was in another Discord. I forget which one it was. Was it SMR or Met Geek Gab? And I saw you chiming in there, and it was on the week when you weren't here. So I know you were cheating on us.
Playing a little hooky from NosillaCast. That's okay. We support other podcasts.
It wasn't technically during the show, but all right. Yeah, Frank, good luck figuring out how to get out of that view if you're asking that question.
That one is tough. I can never remember how to get out of that mode, Frank.
I think you have to click back on the channel or something.
Yeah, right. I think it's on the left bar, getting back into the text channel versus something else. But
yeah, you have to click on the right text channel. I'm afraid to test it because I can never find my way out of it.
But so I'm using Discord on the Mac, and I think he's on an iPad. I'm not sure the layout's the same.
You can't hit cancel. There is no cancel.
Oh,
it's close to the first, huh, Rose? Well, that's cool. I love it. All right, muting Steve. We actually have not one, but two Chit Chats Across the Pond Light this week. Now, the first one's kind of a cheat. One of my pet peeves is podcasters who air reruns. This week, I am that podcaster, but I think I can justify what I'm doing, so bear with me while I make some excuses for it. On June 1st, 2014, Dr. Marianne Gary made her debut appearance on Chit Chat Across the Pond. In this terrific interview, she explained her research and the research of others in the field of how memories are formed and retrieved. Every time Dr. Gary comes on as a self-proclaimed crusher of dreams, these episodes seem to garner the most interest from the listeners. This seminal episode with Dr. Gary is the best of the best, and it crushes every dream you have that your memory is flawless and it's just everyone else who's misremembering things. She explains the repressed memory fad that started in the 1990s and how damaging this never scientifically validated belief was to so many people. She explains how she can actually induce false memories in people at an alarming rate. Now, here's why I'm rerunning it. 8 years ago, Chit Chat Across the Pond was not a standalone podcast. Instead, it was embedded inside the NosillaCast episode number 473. I've always wanted to be able to just point people directly to this interview, and I couldn't because it didn't even have a chapter mark to jump to in the audio. Not only is it a fabulous interview and one where she mocks me at every turn, I want new listeners to hear it, but even if you have heard it, it is delightful to listen to again. I asked Marianne to listen to it and asked her whether she'd want to re-record because of changes in the last 8 years, and she said, no, it's great just like it is. Now, in the very beginning, I do say that she works at the University of Victoria in Wellington, New Zealand, but since then, she's moved her research lab and teaches at the University of Waikato in Hamilton, New Zealand. Now, I hope you'll go back and listen to this episode, and you can find it in your podcatcher of choice, of course, under Chit Chat Across the Pond Light. Now, both Bart and Pat Dangler said they were so excited to see a new episode with Dr. Gary and found out it was a rerun and then listened and it was all fun again. So even if you have heard it, I think you'll enjoy it a second time through.
Couple good comments.
What's that?
Mike says, word of advice, don't go asking for a refund to airing a rerun. And
you get a snotty response to that, don't you?
Right. And then John says, is Allison sure that she actually aired that episode? Could Marianne have implanted the memory? Well done.
Absolutely. Actually, I'm going to stick a little thing in here.
Rick's on top of it.
I've got to mute you here. When I told Marianne how sad people were that this was not a new episode, she said, hey, ask the audience, what would you like to know about memory? Because she knows a lot of stuff about it. So if you have any questions that would help make a full new Chit Chat Across the Pond, she would love to come on and talk to you again. Now I'll do the chapter mark. Let me check that timing. Second time through.
Did you actually put in the audio?
I'm not ready for chapter mark yet. Just a second.
No.
A second time through. When I told Marianne... Okay, now what do you want to know?
Oh, this is all pre-audio for her. I got it.
Okay.
I thought you were putting a post comment on. This is a pre-comment.
That was a post comment to the one about Marianne Gary, which is why I don't have a chapter mark. Now I will do the chapter mark.
So, okay, let me go back to my original question. Did you put in the audio for that chit chat, or you?
Why would I play the audio for chit chat during the NosillaCast?
Well, other blog posts you do. I guess this one you're not because it's already been posted.
It's chit chat. Chit chat is never inside NosillaCast.
Ah, that's right.
Lindsay, the daughter, is here. Hi, Lindsay.
Ah, hey, Linz.
I talked about you earlier, how the show has been on half of your lifetime. All right. Time to mute Steve, who is just confusing me anyway. Okay. All right. Okay, now let's talk about our second Chit Chat Across the Pond, which is a new episode. Back in August of 2019, Bart Buchatz told us about how someday in the future, we would be able to be living in a passwordless future of bliss because of something called FIDO, also known as Fast ID Online. Back then, it was really only helping corporations, but this week, the FIDO Alliance made an announcement that shows real promise that this dream will be realized for normal humans. In this episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond Light, Bart gives us a human friendly explanation of why FIDO is awesome, how it will work, why it works, and what problems it solves. He even breaks it down into who will have to do what for this to work, and the good news is that normal humans won't have to do anything at all to make it work. While this may sound like a super nerdy topic, and it does include a few brief ventures into private public key cryptography, it really is a joyful discussion of a future without password breaches. When Bart and I stopped recording, I asked him, "Did you notice how much I was smiling during this recording?" I think you'll really enjoy hearing about FIDO and why passkeys rock. And of course, you can find this second episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond in your podcatcher of choice. There we go. Yeah, normal humans. It's a really interesting episode. I was very surprised at how human friendly this whole thing is. All right. Chapter mark. What is normal anyway? All right, time to plug my latest video tutorial. Copy link. Boom. There we go. Okay, here we go. Steve, muted again. You know that I'm a huge fan of all products from Rogue Amoeba, and I couldn't do any of the podcast work I do without Audio Hijack. In my blog post entitled Audio Hijack 4, So Much More Than a New Coat of Paint, I sang the virtues of the newly redesigned Audio Hijack 4. Now it's time to learn what Audio Hijack 4 can do and how better than through a video tutorial created by me for Screencasts Online. Now remember, Screencasts Online is a subscription podcast, but you can get a free 7-day trial and watch this video tutorial and the back catalog to see if this service provides the education on Mac and iOS applications that you'd like to experience. To help you decide, I've posted a little teaser video for the full tutorial over at Screencasts Online. And remember, Audio Hijack is accessible via VoiceOver. Alrighty. I can't believe how long it took me to figure out a better way to do my. I'm always moving windows in and out from Mars Edit, and I finally figured out if I keep the main window over on the right, I can click between these and the preview just changes for me. It's so exciting.
Has Audio
Save and add
Hijack
chapter marks. Amazing this still works.
has Audio Hijack always been accessible, or is that a new thing with the latest?
The original one
version?
wasn't. When they built Audio Hijack 3, that's when it became accessible.
Got it.
So, all right. Oh, would you mind going and getting the microscope? It's
Where
sitting
is
on
it?
our. It's on the table under the TV in our room.
Okay.
Okay, do a chapter mark here. Oh, let's see. Copy link. Because Rick says to. Uh-oh. Didn't copy fast enough. Nope. Oh, it worked. Oh, good. I didn't mean to open that. All right, Steve's going to bring in the thing I'm going to be talking about here. Thank you, dear. Stop it. No, don't want to show that. Okay. He's bringing me just random other things that were sitting underneath the TV. All right, Lindsay's going to enjoy this. Actually, Forbes might enjoy seeing what I'm going to do, Lindsay. I'm going to do the talk about the microscope he and I played with together.
Yeah, he should hear this one.
Yeah. All right. So now I got to find it. I should have put microscope in quotes.
Later, I thought you did that.
Yeah, I should have. All right. Here we go. I bought myself a toy that I've been wanting for a long time. It's a digital microscope. My idea was that it would be fun for me to explore the microscopic world with my future science buddy, my grandson Forbes. I wasn't sure how they worked or how much they cost, but I knew they exist. Too many fumbling. All right. I bought myself a toy that I've been wanting for a long time, a digital microscope. My idea was that it would be fun for me to explore the Microsoft. Really? Can't say Microsoft. It's supposed to be microscopic. I bought myself a toy that I've been wanting for a long time, a digital microscope. My idea was that it would be fun for me to explore the microscopic world with my future scientist buddy, my grandson Forbes. I wasn't sure how they worked or how much they cost, but I knew that they existed, so I went on a hunt. I perused options on Amazon looking for one that would work with the Mac and iOS. I wasn't sure how much I'd be using it, but I wanted to have both options between the two platforms. I settled on the Takmeli. It's Takmly, and actually, technically, they put a T in front of that, so it might be Takmeli. It's very difficult to pronounce, but anyway, it's the Takmeli wireless digital microscope with 5,653 ratings and 4.5 stars. There were less expensive models in the $20 range, but they didn't seem to have the features of the Takmeli for $38. Boy, I went so many times I hurt my throat. What you get in the box is a small cylinder 1.3 inches in diameter and 5.3 inches long, which is the actual microscope. You also get an articulated base to hold the microscope in position while you move objects into your field of view. Okay, I gotta stop playing with things while I'm trying to look. Should have had them all out here. Show and tell. This is the articulated mount. They included a micro USB to USB-A cable, which can be used to connect the microscope to a computer and is used to charge the internal battery. I couldn't find any specs on the size of the battery or how long it should last, but Forbes and I played with it for quite a bit without running out of juice. It still has juice last time I checked. If you choose to use the microscope with a Mac, they suggest you use QuickTime or Photo Booth as the viewer, since this device is essentially a USB camera. I looked at that USB-A cable when I first opened the box and realized I'd have to walk all the way down the hall to grab a USB-C dongle to connect it to my Mac. That was clearly way too much work. Well, the Quick Start Guide explained that with their app for iOS and Android, you can use the microscope wirelessly. The app they have in the App Store is called MaxC, MAX-SEE. When first launched, it explains that you need to connect to the device's own Wi-Fi network. I pushed the power button on the microscope to start its own Wi-Fi. Then on my phone, I switched to settings/Wi-Fi, and immediately I saw a network called MaxC Ada. I selected that network and then flipped back to the MaxC app, and the entire screen became the view of the microscope. I've dealt with a lot of devices before where you have to connect to their Wi-Fi, and they are notoriously fiddly, but the Takmeli microscope took very little fiddling to connect. The next thing I expected to be fiddly was the little articulated mount for the microscope. It has a single plastic wing nut to tighten the joints, and yet it worked really well to hold the microscope in position while maintaining flexibility in positioning. Since I had a 5-year-old assistant, I did have some stability problems, but that's a whole different issue. The Takmeli microscope has a dial which turns on and changes the brightness of a ring of 8 LEDs around the I knew I couldn't do that without looking at it. Let me turn this on so you can see it. Oh, did I let the battery die? Oh no, there we go. Okay. The Takmeli microscope has a dial which turns on and changes the brightness of a ring of LEDs around the camera tip. In Forbes and my experiments, this light source was essential to getting a good clear view of our subjects. The LEDs and the tip are protected inside a clear plastic cylinder. Several times my able assistant wasn't quite as delicate with the microscope as I would have hoped, but that clear good grief. It's going to take forever if I have to keep recording like this. Cylinder. Several times, my able assistant wasn't quite as delicate with the microscope as I might have hoped, but that clear plastic protective cylinder really did its job as he jammed it straight down on things. They also include a small plastic cap to protect the tip, which is easy to forget to take off. But when you look through the microscope, you'll see bright red lettering on the cap alerting you to the fact that you forgot. I think it actually says "open it." Anyway, not that that happened to me more than once. There's an easy thumb dial on the cylinder that says 50x to 1000x. Now, you would expect that this is the magnification factor, but that's not actually the function it provides. It seems to be more of a focusing ring that you can change depending on how close you are to your subject. I found a pretty funny section in the Amazon ad that elaborates quite a bit on this topic. Here's what it says. Quote, "A funny tool. This electronic microscope is more of a fixed focus magnifying glass, not a traditional microscope. Not suitable for professional, serious biologists. This is definitely a very interesting thing for parents, adults, teachers, students, kids, children, collectors, testers, electronics repair folks, and inquisitive folk who are interested in exploring skin, hair, scalp, trichomes, and the microscopic world." There is so much to love in that one paragraph. I'm glad that they clarified it's a magnifying glass, but calling it fixed focus makes no sense since the dial does change the focus. I like that they call it a funny tool. Perhaps they meant a fun tool. I love the warning that it's not suitable for professional, serious biologists. I then had to go look up what trichomes are. According to the dictionary, they're the small hair or other outgrowth from the epidermis of a plant. I'm not sure the device even qualifies to see the microscopic world, but Forbes and I did get to see some really cool stuff with it. We were setting up the microscope when Forbes was eating a cherry tomato, and as always happens with cherry tomatoes, it squirted a seed out onto his napkin. He pushed the napkin under the microscope, and it looked exactly like an egg yolk. He started poking it with the tiny stem of the tomato, and it even moved like an egg. It was super cool. One of the advantages of using a phone or a tablet with this kind of microscope over Wi-Fi is you can simply pick up your display to show it to other people in the room. We did it with my iPad Pro and later my iPhone, and it was super fun for us to be able to show what we were seeing without having to drag people over to the microscope to take a look. The Maxi app also allows you to capture photos and videos of what you're seeing. It keeps them in a library in the app, but if you give the app permissions to your photos library, it saves them there too. The app lets you change the resolution from 640 by 480 to 1280 by 720 or 1920 by 1080. I saw no reason to have a lower res image, so we stuck with 1920 by 1080. The camera part of the Maxi app works perfectly, but if I had to make one suggestion, it would be to add some sort of feedback to let you know that the photo has been successfully taken. You see, when you tap the camera button, nothing visually changes on screen. The icon doesn't even change like from light to dark, so you have to trust it that it captured the photo or flip over to Photos to verify. I left the room for a bit, and Forbes' dad, Nolan, found a dead fly, and they put it under the scope. they were able to get a wicked cool close-up of the fly head where you can clearly see the tiny parts of the fly's compound eyeballs and the hairs on its legs and body. For the squeamish, it's pretty creepy, but for the scientists and the rest of us, it's amazing. We went down to where there's a creek in town and gathered some stagnant water to hopefully find amoebas. Now, I'm not sure this quote-unquote microscope would have found them if they'd been there, but we didn't see anything cool in the water like we'd hoped. Instead, a big surprise was how cool carpeting looks really close up. We also took a look at the cover of a book he had that had a glossy color photo on the front. We discovered a very unusual pattern of screen printing. It's hard to describe. It's basically yellow with dark brown concentric rings that have flecks of yellow, green, and orange in them, and then radial lines emanating from those concentric circles. I've never seen anything like it. I have a feeling Forbes and I will be playing with the Takmeli microscope for a long time, but we've already gotten our $40 worth of joy out of it. I put a link in the show notes to the model we bought, but you might also want to take a look at the newer model Takmeli are selling. Instead of the articulated arm, which like I said works pretty well, the new one has a simple bendy arm that's attached to a large black base with lines on it for comparative measurement. Now, I just noticed that Takmeli also sell an endoscope for only $19. It looks like I could start my own medical practice. But seriously, the endoscope they show is designed to snake the long, slim, semi-flexible cable down into pipes and other hard-to-reach places to see what's going on inside. That might be a handy tool to have around. Oh, Forbes responded, science! Oh, good. Has the family been enjoying this, Lindsay? Oh, good question, cool. Sandy. Oh, it was the science. I get it. I like it. Okay, good. And Nolan, Nolan got that photo. I couldn't believe he got that. I wasn't there for it, but it is definitely my favorite picture from what we did there.
The bang for the buck for that little microscope is pretty high.
Yeah, Steve's mother actually technically bought it for me. She gives me a gift card every year for my birthday, and that's what I bought with my gift card.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, Kevin is out this week. He's off vacationing with the family. Now let's go ahead and do it. Where is it? This one. Oh, no. Got to go this first. Did he tell me to do a chapter?
Yes, he did.
All right, fine. Do you guys have any idea what you guys would like to see me do a video tutorial on for Screencast Online? I need an idea for the next month. I haven't decided on anything yet. All right. Muting Steve. Back in March, alert reader Tony Wally. Back in March, alert reader Anthony Walla noticed something annoying about the Podfeet homepage when viewing it from his iPhone 11 Pro. You know how I have a graphic of a MacBook with big red buttons superimposed over it for the various categories of content on podfeet.com? When I first designed that look, I took great care to test usability on all different sizes of screens. I made 2 nice rows of red buttons on wide format screens like tablets and laptops, and they collapsed down into a vertical column of buttons on the small screens on phones. But over time, I've added a few more buttons to help surface the awesome content that Bart creates. I remember distinctly adding these special pages shortly after Bart wrote a long, detailed article on Chit Chat Across the Pond about GDPR. We wanted a way people could get to that content more easily. To be honest, I haven't designated too many things with that moniker, but it includes my privacy policy, Bart's DNS resolver article, Dorothy's Programming by Stealth Index, my mammoth iOS 11 mind map of doom, trademark Donald Burr, my live show setup, which is really there for me as a reference guide when things go wrong, a reference guide on how to bypass a Verizon Fios router to use your own Wi-Fi router to control the network, and NosillaCast Live, which is available everywhere. In addition to the Special Pages button, I later added one for security bits, figuring that it's such a good reference resource, it should be available at a push of a button rather than filtering through the blog post to find it. And then Bart Helm and I collectively created the Taming the Terminal book from the internationally famous podcast by the same name, and I made that its own button. I had honestly forgotten it had its own button on the front page, and I always go hunting for it other ways. Well, each time I added a new button, I should have been rechecking to make sure that no device had trouble viewing the homepage, but I never once did that. Tony sent me a note with a screenshot showing that all of the buttons after support the show were missing, so he couldn't join the conversation, see the special pages, or download the most awesome Taming the Terminal book. I wrote back and patiently explained that his phone screen was just too small. He simply had to scroll to see the rest of the buttons. Tony sent a second screenshot that illustrated it wasn't a scrolling on a small device problem. The buttons really aren't there. In the second screenshot, he scrolled up so that you could see the content below the buttons, and sure enough, the gray MacBook was cutting off along with the buttons below right below support the show. I let this problem simmer in the back of my mind for a few weeks, dreading trying to figure out why this was happening. Finally, I jumped in to fix it. I use a WordPress theme called Site Origin North to design my website, and it has a tool, still in WordPress, called Page Builder, where you can add a custom static homepage. It works well, but it's a bit janky to work with if you don't work in it all the time, so I'd been away from it for a while, so that's why I hesitated. The custom homepage builder lets you lay out rows of content with little blocks representing different types of content. There's a term in the biz called a hero image. That's when you have a giant background image on top of which you put your other content. My MacBook Gray cover photo is the hero image, and I added the text saying the tagline and an area for the red buttons. Each button can be configured to go to another page or content on the same page, and you can control the size and color, and icons of the buttons can be individually modified. I looked through all of this, and for the life of me, I couldn't see why the buttons were cut off, but only on smaller screen devices. The good news is that Site Origin gives the theme away for free, but you can pay the grand sum of $29 for premium support via email. I shot off an email to Site Origin at 8:33 p.m., and at 8:51 p.m., my new friend Alex S. from Site Origin responded with a solution. Somewhere along the line, I had set a static height for the graphic, which was shorter than the room necessary for all of the buttons when stacked vertically on mobile. After I got that part fixed, I noticed there was a huge gap below the gray hero image, and Alex helped me get rid of that too. Now, I used another tool to verify that podfeet.com would look good on pretty much any device. The tool is called Sizzy, S-I-Z-Z-Y, from sizzy.co, and it was Helma from the Netherlands who tipped me off to this app. It does a lot of other things, but one thing it excels at is showing you a website on many different screens at once. You can see Podfeet on an iPhone 12, a Google Pixel 4 XL, a Galaxy S10, and a MacBook Air all at once. Now, Sizzy is expensive for my minor use of it at $7 per month or $199 per year. But guess what? It's also in SetApp, so I get it for my $10 a month plus all the other tools I use from SetApp. I really should spend some more time investigating everything it can do because there are at least a dozen buttons in the menu bar that I've never even pushed in Sizzy that probably do cool things. For example, I just noticed there's a rotate button so you can check each mobile device in portrait and landscape, and you can even take a screenshot of each device. The bottom line is that I'm super happy that Tony wrote in to tell me about this problem, and I wish somebody had told me about it a lot sooner if they'd noticed it. I want you to be like Tony and write to me if you see something wrong. I may not be able to fix it, or I may not want to fix it, but I'll try. I really like Tony's response when I explained all of this to him about how I found it and how I fixed the problem. He wrote, "This is why I like following you. Not only did you respond to say you fixed the issue, but you also shared the detail of how you fixed it." Now, I think the homepage of podfeet.com looks much better now. And have you noticed how fast podfeet.com is? There we go. All right.
It is very fast. I'm pleased.
I appreciate it every day, don't you?
Yes, especially when editing something.
Yeah. Oh. All right. I have to do a tiny tip, and then let me put a chapter mark. I'm assuming I was told to do one.
Yes, you were.
All right, good. Did anybody notice that redesign? That
I
I
did.
fixed it? No. But had you noticed it changed?
No.
I bet you didn't. Okay, this one is just stupid. Oh, I need some tiny tip music. This is the dumbest thing ever. I don't know why they did this. All right. Meeting Steve. Drinking water. Brett appreciated how fast it was. Good. I love it. Makes me so happy. Well, I've been enjoying the new 1Password 8 for its speed and ease of use, but I ran into an oddity that caused me to write to the folks at 1Password for an explanation. I have an entry for a toll service called Fast Track. I have an... What was that? Why did that show up? I have an entry for a toll service called Fast Track. Annoyingly, the website for Fast Track doesn't have Fast Track in it. It's at... Okay. Try it again. I have an entry for a toll service called Fast Track. Annoyingly, the website for Fast Track doesn't have the word Fast Track in it. It's instead at thetollroads.com. When I want to log into my account, I can never remember the name. If you search in 1Password, it's always been kind of a bit limited. You can write in as many notes as you like in an entry, and search will never find them because it only searches the titles of your entry. For that reason, to be able to find this particular entry, I put both Fast Track and thetollroads.com in the title. Well, this week I wanted to find the entry, and I knew it had the word toll in it, so I ran a search and was baffled when I got no results. I eventually found the entry manually. Being a dutiful customer of a newly released piece of software for which I'd been a beta tester, I shot off a note to 1Password support telling them it appeared they needed to do a bit more work on search. The response I got back was odd in a few ways. I was told, quote, "This issue is part of an ongoing topic that we've had quite a few requests for. We have an open feature request that I'll add your feedback to for our development team to look over." A feature request? I would put that pretty squarely in the bug report category. I wrote that sentiment back, and I received a response from a different support person at 1Password. Their answer is also weird, but it's also a tiny tip on how to use 1Password. This person suggested I try using find instead of search. Wait, what? It turns out there are two totally different functions in 1Password for finding your stuff. The keystroke for search is Command F, while the keystroke for find is Option Command F. Both options are in the edit menu as well. I got curious on whether there was documentation explaining this difference, so I went searching for any documentation. Or was that finding for documentation? Anyway, it took some digging, but I found this explanation in 1Password support. Quote, "Find items. To search 1Password, use the search field above the list of items. Search results include items, tags, categories, accounts, and vaults from the selected account or collection. Results include items with titles, sections, or fields that match the query. To find an item in the current list only, including partial word matches, use Edit Find with Option Command F." Okay, isn't that the just weirdest thing? I gave find a try, and sure enough, it immediately found items based on partial word searches. I've written back suggesting that perhaps this is bananas. But there you have your tiny tip. Use find instead of search to find what you're looking for in 1Password 8.
So I have a question. Did this solve the problem of finding things that were not in the title, but in other fields in the 1Password entries?
No, but I did learn, as I said, that search includes items, tags, categories, accounts, and vaults. But you can't search in notes. And didn't you say you thought that was probably because those fields would be encrypted?
Right. Yep, that's probably the reason. They probably
Does make sense.
Yeah, I think it does make sense. And notes are not encrypted. Well, there is a field for unencrypted notes in password entries. I think you can make a what?
You think you can make a note that's not encrypted?
I think
so.
The notes are unencrypted by default. The notes section.
No, they're encrypted.
The notes section? I don't think so.
What are you talking about? You're not making any sense. We just said they were encrypted. Somebody, does
No,
anybody
no.
understand what Steve's saying? Oh, when did Ian sneak in? Hi, Ian. Oh, obvious, yeah. Find does partials. Right. Did I say anything wrong in any of that?
So notes, I don't think are encrypted. I think it's the
Oh,
other
because they're not
field.
dots or whatever? I don't know. Whatever it is, you can't find them.
Yeah.
All right. Whoop. Support the show. All right. Okay. I put in my everything you put in 1Password is encrypted, but the notes are not obscured. So even the title of entries is encrypted. So I guess that doesn't make sense, right? Yeah, it's all decrypted when the vault is unlocked.
Right.
That makes sense. So there is no explanation of why you can't search notes. They just chose not to.
Right.
Good thing I didn't say what you said. All right, go away. This week, I'm not going to panhandle for donations. Instead, I just want to thank all of you who support the show by doing other things, by sending me emails with questions and suggestions, those who join the live show to keep me and Steve entertained while I create the show, and those who participate in our Slack by helping others and posting interesting things, those who have hosted the show for me in the past and will again in the future, like Alistair, and those who send in reviews for the show. And I want to thank Steve for supporting my podcasting over the last 17 years. You have no idea how much of the household duties he's taken on so I can expand the shows and play with all of you. And of course, thank you to Bart, with whom my life would be smaller and your knowledge and mine of security and programming and even bicycles would be diminished.
That's a
you
good
did a
segue.
search and found a partial in a secure note.
In a secure note. Interesting.
So what I'm talking about, Bill, is the notes field within a password entry. So a regular, like a login, and then you've got notes. Actually, I better not open 1Password on while I'm doing a screen recording, right? Does anybody know? Can you check that, Steve?
Well, I'm looking at notes.
No, not so. A note within a password entry.
Correct.
Like not a secure note.
Correct. And
The
it's
notes
not
field.
It's not dots, it's not encrypted. It's fully exposed. It implies to me it's not encrypted because it's not hidden behind dots. You know, where you have to select the field.
It's decrypted as
well, everything in 1Password is encrypted. I'm just saying that some
it
things
just doesn't have dots. It's not obfuscated would be a better way of saying it.
Right, which to me implies a higher level or a deeper level of encryption. I'm not sure that's right, but another step to view it in the clear.
Yeah. All right, I'm moving on. It is time for security bits. Okay. Lindsay said something. Podfeet tells me daily how little she does around the house. My favorite case of that was when my dad came over for Thanksgiving and he said, "Oh, Allison, this turkey's amazing." I said, I didn't actually make the turkey. Steve did. And he said, "Oh, okay." So, this stuffing is fantastic. I said, I didn't make the stuffing. Steve made the stuffing. And he went through like 3 or 4 things and he said, "What the hell do you do around here anyway?" I think that was the year I had done drywall and repainted it, where you had kind of accidentally knocked something off the wall that punched holes in the wall. And so I was doing drywall while you were cooking.
Me?
All right. Let's see. Time to bring in security bits. I probably should have. Kaylee's thing is all about the iPad being, or the iPod being discontinued, so it would have fit very well into this week, since this was the week that it got discontinued. But I already had a full show. That's Bart. No, that's Bart. That one's me. Get rid of Bart there. Get rid of me there. Move straight up to about there. And then cut that off
Nope.
there.
Nope.
What?
You got to play it.
Oh, play it first.
Blink.
There you go.
Blink.
We have tradition. Uh-oh. What happened? Something happened. There we go. Who was it? Was it Mike that found the Plink stuff over in Slack? There's actually like a Plink food or something. Was that you, Mike? Not you. Okay. Oh, it was John. Yeah, Bart thought that was hilarious. We talked about that today before we recorded. Let's hear how this sounds. Diminished. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Busschots. How are you today, Bart?
I am fine. I just back in from a nice cycle. Haven't get used to being on my other bike because my good one's broken by COVID.
Huh?
Or rather, by China being broken by COVID.
Missing parts, huh?
Missing parts, and apparently Shimano make everything in China, and the bit I need is like hen's teeth. So,
Hey, I have a very serious question I thought of today.
oh.
Do you have to dust in Ireland?
Oh heck yes, because most
wonder why.
dust. Well, most dust is dead skin.
Yeah. Okay.
Most dust is from us.
Okay. Well, I was
Also,
wondering, because we have to dust a lot here, and I was wondering, is this like because I live in Beyond Thunderdome here with no water?
Well, we have a thing that happens quite often where the wind blows from the southeast and it drops Sahara dust on everything. And so, like, my car will have red dust on it.
Oh, that's weird. Talk
And
about
annoying.
a globally connected place, huh?
Yeah, and it's scratchy dust because it's sand from a desert. So it's the kind of dust you'd be very careful how you rub it off your car or you'll end up scratching your car instead of cleaning your car. You'd hate it.
Oh, yeah. It's almost like you have to blow it off.
Wash. Just don't rub. Just, wash.
I learned that the sand from the desert was different from the sand that they make concrete. Maybe we've talked about this before, but when we were in Dubai, they told us that they had to import all of the sand for constructing all of those buildings. They are literally in the desert, and they have to import sand because sand made from water is smooth.
Right,
Am I
it'll be
getting it
rounded.
backwards? No, the wind
No,
one. Whichever one they need is the opposite one of the one they have. One is smooth and one is full of crevices, and one works for concrete and one does not.
We have this joke, they could sell sand to an Arabian, but apparently you actually can.
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't that tragic? Yeah, they need the water kind of sand. Beach
Which
sand.
obviously deserts no have, yeah.
Right.
Cool.
But anyway, this is not This Week in Sand. This is Security Bits. Should we get started?
We will, but don't worry, it's quite a light week of news.
Oh, goody.
So my normal routine is I do...
Okay, Lindsay's making fun of me here. Yes, I'm catching up, Sandy. I got 10 points. So,
wow, Lindsay. Even the daughter.
Oh, I like it. Yeah. So this was funny. We were kind of relaxed, going real slow, and then Skype had died, wouldn't work for me for some reason because nothing is working for me right now, and so we had to use Zoom. And Zoom, even though there were only two people, killed us at 40 minutes. So we saw it. We both saw the end coming, and he goes faster and faster and faster at the end. So kind of strange. All right, Steve, you should probably start working on chapter count pretty soon because I'll be asking you in just a moment. Let's see.
And we have apparently 2 minutes left until we get booted out.
Oh, there we go. Let's see.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. And of course the Slack is always fun. So another plug for the Slack.
Well, this was a surprisingly happy.
Yeah, it was good. All security news, all happy.
There we go. I think that's the end.
You still have to do what I tell you every time, which is to stay patched so you stay secure.
So Michael, did that just happen recently? Bart was thinking maybe they've decided to stop giving it away for free past 40 minutes. They had that for because of COVID, and now it's like, okay, well, you guys can start paying.
That's what it
It was
sounds
just
like.
this past week. Oh, okay, shoot. I may have to belly up to the bar and pay. All right, here comes the ending. Well, that's going to wind up this 17th anniversary show. As I mentioned, the people I appreciate are those who email me at allison@podfeet.com. They send me questions and suggestions. You can do that too. You can also follow me on Twitter @podfeet. Now remember, everything good starts with podfeet.com. If you want to join in the fun of the conversation, join our Slack community at podfeet.com/Slack. In there, you can talk to me and all of the other lovely NosillaCastaways. And you know what? You could support the show at podfeet.com/Patreon or with a one-time donation at podfeet.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, like we had a big audience for the big celebration this week, just head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Episode full. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Jill. Let's see. NosillaCast outro. Pop it in there. Give it a quick listen. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. All right. All right, Steve, what kind of chapter count do you have for me?
7 + 1. If you're still chapter marking Pledge Break.
I have 8.
Yeah. If you're counting Pledge Break, 8.
Yeah. And Pledge Break gets counted every time now.
Much
Alrighty.
to Frank's dismay.
Oh, what are you going to do? All right.
Frank's
I'm
reminding me I got to
exporting-
go start dinner.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I get to Rose. You were gone before I kissed you goodbye, but I kissed you goodbye anyway last week. Or no, I forgot to kiss you goodbye. That's what it was. I got to say goodbye to the ducky too. Bye. All right, Steve, take us out.
Good night, NosillaCastaways.
Happy anniversary, everybody. Of course, it's Chicken Mike. It's Sunday.